Hey everybody, welcome back to the City Homestead. Today we're going over how to put together your beehive and the different parts of the beehive. Now this is just one way to put your beehive together. Every beekeeper, based on what their needs and desires are from their bees, is going to have a little bit of a different setup, but this is just a general guidance of how to set up a beehive if you're a beginner. The different parts are, you have your base on the bottom. This has a lip and a little landing zone for them to come in and fly and take off and everything. You have a deep. These are the big boxes. Now these come in either 8 or 10 frame boxes. Usually it's 10, but you do see 8 frame boxes out there, and that's just a number of frames that can fit horizontally across the box. So this has 10 frames inside of it. On top of that is another deep. Now this may not be needed for your beehive. This is just to give them more room so that they can produce more eggs and make a bigger hive. That's what these deeps are for. You're not necessarily going to be collecting honey from the deeps. Your next stage, which you cannot see right now, but we're going to show you in close up in a little bit, is your queen excluder. This is going to keep your queen from traveling further up into the hive. And there's a reason for that. Your top box, the smaller one, is a super. These are what collects, this is what collects the honey. You do not necessarily want your queen moving up into that super, because if she goes up there, she's going to lay eggs. And if she lays eggs in your super, those are cells that are now not being able to be utilized for honey collection. So you have your base, you have your deep, your other deep if it's necessary, your super to collect the honey, your lid, and then for our boxes we have a sugar water jar where we can put sugar water or even just regular water for the bees to drink if it's really hot and there's been not much rain. So that's what's going into the top. So I'm going to take this apart. We're going to show you close up how to assemble it. All right, I got the beehive disassembled. It's a pretty dirty hive, but it's just one that we're not using right now, so it's going to work for this example. Now we start off with our base. This is the very bottom of the hive. That goes first. Your next step is to put your deep on. Now remember, these come in 8 and 10 frame deeps. So if you get the base, make sure it matches the same number of frames as the deep that goes on top of it. So it's going to have 10 frames going across. An 8 frame deep is just going to have 8 frames. It's just a preference. Beekeepers use both, but they need to match up. Now your next step is going to be to watch your hive. If this fills up full of bees and it's getting a little crowded for them, you can add another deep to that. All you need to do is add that deep right on top. That's all you gotta do. Just give them more space. This is where the queen is laying eggs. You do this if you want that hive to keep growing, more eggs, more baby bees, a bigger hive. But you don't have to. If you do not want to keep growing your hive like that, or they're just not growing, your next step, if it's time of that year to collect some honey, you're going to want to put a queen excluder on top. This keeps the queen from moving up further into the hive to where the super is. Now, as you can see, the super would go on top. This is what's collecting the honey. Now, if you want to compare a super frame to a deep frame, this is the difference. Much different in the size of them. The deep, remember a deep, it's called a deep because it's just deeper. The super is where you're going to collect your honey. So that excluder, that is the gaps in it is big enough for the worker bees to go up and make honey, but too small for the queen to move up into your super. If that queen moves up into your super, she may start laying eggs where you want honey to be being made. So that might get in the way of your honey production. But this could be your setup to collect some honey. If your hive's really big or it's growing fast, you could put that second deep on top of that. I can show you that real fast. Just put that on top. Then you still put that queen excluder on top of the deep. And then the super goes on top. So that's the rule of thumb. You just want to make sure that the deeps are on the bottom, the super is on top, and there's a queen excluder between the deeps and the super. It's pretty simple. Now after that, all you gotta do is put your lid on. Ours has a hole in it. That's where we put our sugar water, and that's just a mason jar. There's gonna be some holes in it, water or sugar water, put that on top. That can help feed those bees or keep them hydrated. Now, if you're worried about the box being flimsy, falling apart, you don't have to worry about that. The bees will seal this in. They will use a wax called propolis, propellers will be used to kind of seal all the gaps, and it will hold this hive together. It's going to be pretty strong. Where if you come out here after a couple of weeks, this lid will be so sealed down, you're going to have a hard time getting it up. So just remember, don't worry about being a little flimsy at first. Those beads will seal it, glue it all together, make it a pretty solid beehive. But there you have it. That's a simple way of putting a beehive together. That's a base, 2 deeps, and a super. You could also do a base, 1 deep, and a super to collect honey. And you can do any kind of combination, 2 deeps, 2 supers, 1 deep, 1 super, 1 deep, 2 supers. But the general outline is deeps on the bottom, supers on top where you want to collect honey, that queen excluder in between supers and deeps, just so that that queen is not laying eggs where you want to collect honey. So that's it. Hope this was helpful to you. Please follow our channel. If you like this, check out our other videos. Thanks for joining us at the Homestead.